Hey everyone, and welcome back. So today I want to talk about an update to another upcoming game, and that is G.I. Joe Wrath of Cobra that just received a new gameplay trailer. Now if you didn't already know, this game is basically the G.I. Joe franchise getting the beat-em-up treatment that's been very successful for other franchises. Now once again, this is a game that got an announcement trailer at the end of August of this year and was announcing a release date for 2024. Now, the only thing about that first trailer is that it was mostly animation, with a very little portion of gameplay at the end. Now, the new trailer, however, is all gameplay and gives us a much better idea of the direction for the game. Now, is that news good or bad? Well, that's what we're going to discuss in today's video, because I think there are some positive things we can take away from this trailer. However, there are some worrisome ones as well. Now, just remember as we jump into today's video, to help support the channel, hit that like button and subscribe if you aren't already. Now, first of all, I do want to mention I do consider myself a G.I. Joe fan. I'm an 80s kid, I grew up watching the show, and I have a great deal of nostalgia for it. Meaning that I'm really hoping that this game is very successful and offers a great gameplay experience and possibly future great G.I. Joe games. Now that being said, however, I do have to talk about this trailer in an honest way and judge the gameplay for what I'm seeing and whether I think it's going to turn out to be a great game or not. Now, final judgment will always rest when we finally get our hands on this game and see how it plays. But right now, as I said earlier, I think there's some good things that we see in the trailer, but however, there could be maybe some bad ones as well. Now, first of all, let's start with the good things. We get a wider look at the cast of playable characters. Now, in the previous trailer, we had already seen Duke, Roadblock, Scarlet, and Snake Eyes, which we do see once again in this trailer. However, we add to the mix Gung Ho, which is one of my personal favorite characters, so I'm really glad he's been included in this trailer. I still have my fingers crossed for an even bigger cast of characters, because let's be honest, the G.I. Joe cast of heroes is a big one, and I really do hope they go down the road of unlockable characters, because that is a huge motivating factor when playing these retro beat-em-ups. Number 2, we also get a better look at the cast of named villains, with Dr. Mindbender and Major Blood making an appearance as well in this gameplay trailer. Now, both these villains were an important part of the G.I. Joe franchise, and once again, they have a huge cast of villains to pick from as well. Now, if you want to see what villains were already confirmed in that first trailer, I'll also be linking my video down below that covered that first trailer, so you can always take a look if you want even more information. Now, on the gameplay side, they also do confirm something that I had asked for in that first trailer, and that is the fact that yes, the G.I. Joes will be able to use weapons in different scenarios. Now, if we're trying to respect the source material, weapons were a huge part of G.I. Joe. And yes, you can see the characters using them, and you can see that they are pickups in various situations. Lastly, for only a 30-second trailer, we do see a decent number of different environments, so hopefully there will be a huge variety to keep things fresh. Now let's get into some of the more worrisome aspects. First of all, when I looked at that first announcement trailer, I did not want to judge the gameplay too harshly, because at that moment, the game was solely announced for 2024, with no idea whether the game was releasing at the beginning or the end of the year, and often those first little glimpses in announcement trailers don't necessarily reflect on the finalized gameplay. However, in this trailer here, they are saying that the game should be releasing in Q1 of 2024, meaning that that should be in the next 3.5 months. Meaning the developers should be at the finalizing steps of the gameplay. Therefore, what we're seeing in this trailer should be very reflective of the final product, and at the same time, this is normally cherry-picked moments of gameplay that really should be selling you the game. Now that being said, I'm slightly underwhelmed with the gameplay I'm seeing in this trailer. Now, as I said earlier, I will reserve final judgment till I actually play the game. However, in some of the various scenes, the gameplay seems very stiff for a beat-em-up, especially given the current landscape on the Nintendo Switch, where we've received a lot of high-quality beat-em-ups over the last year, and our expectations are somewhat elevated. Like personally, the first scene where we actually see Gung Ho in action fighting a group of Cobra soldiers, the animations look a little bit funky and the hitboxes seem wonky. And also another standout for me is where you see Scarlet fighting Major Blood in front of Serpentor's throne. It really looks very stiff on the animation side when she does her backflip. That being said, having stiff animations on its own doesn't necessarily set up your beat 'em up for failure. An example is Double Dragon Gaiden, which a lot of people would say has stiff animations, however, I really enjoyed. It is, however, going to make the game harder to sell to a lot of people, and the gameplay has to really feel on point with those animations for it to work out. Secondly, the other slight alarm bell ringing in my head is where at one point in the trailer, they say that you can play with your friends together or online, yet no part of this trailer has any co-op footage. Now, did they forget to put it in, or is none of the co-op footage ready yet? In my opinion, when we're so close to the finish line, there should be some footage that is adequate for a trailer that is ready for co-op gameplay, and especially if you're flashing it in your trailer, you should be showing it off. Once again, however, this could also just be an oversight, so it's not necessarily an immediate indication of failure. Also, where is that awesome Telope soundtrack that was so touted in the first trailer? Personally, I found the soundtrack for this trailer somewhat underwhelming, and that is so important in selling a great beat 'em up. Now, maybe ending with one more slightly more positive aspect is I do think they're being very honest to the source material here in the design of the various characters and even the enemies and environments. They are going heavily retro and not too defined on the different character models, but you know what? That can work out perfectly for a G.I. Joe beat 'em up, especially with how retro the franchise is to begin with. So like I said, it's not all doom and gloom. I'm just really hoping that the developers are going to take the time to release a product that is really in an awesome state when it releases, not one that they're going to patch later on. Because as I said when we talked about the initial announcement trailer, the G.I. Joe franchise hasn't had the best release in previous games, meaning that this game has to be great right at release for it to be successful. People are not going to wait around for the game to be successful later on after it gets patched. And also, as I said in that first video, Maple Powered Games that only has one other game under its belt did release it in a fairly poor state to patch and fix it later on. I just hope they're not banking on that process once again. Either way, we'll have to wait and find out. What I recommend for all of you is just wait till either we play it on stream or I put out a full review on the game before maybe picking it up. Now, on the way out, don't forget that if you did like today's video, to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already, and click on that notification bell so you know when all my future videos come out. And as usual, hope I'll see you in my next video.